Hello everyone, welcome back. In this presentation, we will see the database management system definition. Let's directly step into the definition. A database management system, simply DBMS, is a collection of interrelated data and a set of programs to access those data. If you observe, the key term about DBMS is a collection of interrelated data. So database are going to store the data obviously, but it's not simply going to store the data. It's going to store the interrelated data. What is an interrelated data? If you can recollect the previous example, in the pencil analogy which I was talking about, you can see that the data are actually stored in the form of table. Table means it's going to comprise rows and columns. Say for example, what are all the data that are stored? The color of the pencil, the model of the pencil or pen, the date of manufacturing, etc. If you take a particular row, the data stored in that particular row are pertaining to a pen or a pencil. So the data are interrelated to each other because it's pertaining to a particular item. And that's why we say a database management system DBMS is a collection of interrelated data. And not only it is going to store the interrelated data, it is also having a set of programs to access those data because we obviously need to access the data. Say if you're going to an ATM machine to withdraw some money, when you insert your card into the ATM machine, obviously your details have to be fetched from the database, where the database are the central entity that stores all the information about all customers. So this database may be in a remote location. All your required data is fetched and it is now given into the ATM machine. Now ATM machine is actually displaying that information for you. So from this we understood that databases are not only for storing purpose, it is also for retrieving or accessing purpose. So this is what the definition of database management system. We have just seen the definition of DBMS. Let's now see various points about DBMS for better understanding. When we talk about additional points about DBMS, we need to clearly understand that the primary goal of DBMS is to store the data and retrieve the data. So DBMS should facilitate us to store the data easily and effectively. At the same time, whenever we require the data, it should have the set of programs to retrieve the data easily. So simply, storing and retrieving should be convenient and it also should be efficient. Because the fact is, when we store and retrieve the data in the files, we are not achieving efficiency and convenience when we do that with the file system. Don't worry about this now. Anyway, in the coming lectures, we are going to see the advantages of having DBMS over file systems. From the last presentation, we confirmed that any organization needs databases. When organization needs to store all the information possible, think about the volume of the information that organization is going to store. It's obviously huge, enormous, right? So we need to have database management system that can manage large bodies of information. See, any data it should store, whether you edit the data or whether you delete the data. If you want to be transparent and accountable, obviously all data have to be stored, including all transactions what we make must be recorded. Only then we can reap the real power of having database management system. And we can understand that we are going to manage large bodies of information, and obviously we need to define the data storage structures because databases are not going to store only simple data types. It's going to store enormous data. Say in certain situations we need to store multimedia data also, where the database is going to store the audio data, video data, animations and whatnot. So in such a case, we need to define the appropriate data storage structures. It may be a simple data structure or even it may be a complex data structure. Ultimately, we want to store all the data in the database management system. And we understood that we are going to store the data and we are going to retrieve the data effectively. And not only this, we need to have few mechanisms for data manipulation. We may be in a need to edit the data. For example, you wanted to change your existing information. You might have relocated to a new residence or you might have changed your phone number. Say the databases must be updated with the accurate and the correct information. So in such a case, DBMS should have the mechanisms for data manipulation. And is that all fine? No, we need to focus on one of the important aspects, the safety and security of the information stored. We know databases are going to store the data. and we need to focus on the safety and security of the data or the information stored. So database should have the mechanism to protect the data. If you keenly observe, I'm using the terminologies like data and information. Can they be used interchangeably, or is there any difference between data and information? That's what we are going to see now. We will see data versus information. What is actually data? Data is plural and datum is singular. When we have collection of datum, this is referred as data. Anything in this world can be described as data. Take anything, a simple chalk piece for example. If you take chalk piece as an example, what are all the things that we can describe about the chalk piece? The length of the chalk piece, the color of the chalk piece, the lifetime of the chalk piece, the width of the chalk piece, and many more. All these are data. In this world, everything is of data. Even birth and death has data. So I mean to say, the data means it's the raw piece of information or the unprocessed facts. Say for example, 25, Raghav, Nagpur, all these items are data. They are raw information, raw facts. Raghav is the name of the person, Nagpur is the name of the city, 25 is a number. This 25 may be anything. It may be the age of the person, or it may be the account balance of that person, or it may be the door number. This is a raw fact. And that's why we call these unprocessed facts or raw facts as data. Then what is an information? An information is the processed data. For example, we have the data here. Now we are going to process this data so that we are getting an information. The information is the age of Raghav is 25 who is residing in Nagpur. So what do we mean by this? We had the raw facts, which is the raw data. Now we have the processed data, which is actually the information. The age of Raghav is 25 and Raghav is actually residing in Nagpur. I hope now things are clear to you. And what about databases? Are databases collection of data? No, please be noted that databases are not simply collection of data. Databases are collection of interrelated data. For example, whatever we do in the real-time banking world or the library management or railways, everything is going to store the data in the form of tables, to be precise, rows and columns. So databases are the collection of interrelated data, and also database management systems are a set of programs to access those data efficiently. Before we sign out, let's see one more key point, the metadata. Metadata means data about other data. Say for example, if you are creating a file where our information is going to be stored in the file, and what are all the other data that describes about this file. We know file is storing all the data. A file itself is the data. Now the other information about the file, like the author information, who created the file, the date created, the date modified, the file size, all these information are the data that is describing about other data, right? So these data are generally referred as the metadata. So what we have learned in this presentation? We have learned about the formal definition of DBMS. We have seen some points about databases. We also have seen the difference between data and information. We also have seen about metadata. And that's it, guys. I'll see you in the next presentation. Thank you for watching.